we're probably way too far into this to be saying, okay, we're going to change cars.
I'm not ready to scrap the next gen because the next gen has fixed what was the most glaring problem in NASCAR, which was we run mostly intermediate tracks, and those races were
Exactly.
awful.
Making changes within the organization to move people into positions that they could have success in. I think it's been good.
Welcome into the Backstretch. I'm News 5's Heather Williams. And on this off week for the Cup Series, we're going to just jump right into it with our crew chief, Chris Carrier, who is also the crew chief for the number 75 Boot Country Truck in the Craftsman Truck Series. Chris, you ran Bristol last week. Uh, Practice and qualifying got rained out, put you at a disadvantage from the beginning. First stage, you zoomed into the top 15. I thought, it's on. And then you kind of stalled there. How would you describe your weekend at Bristol?
Well, for us as a team, disappointing. We wound up 14th, which is okay. That's not terrible. In the Truck Series, really count when you count up all the teams and all the equipment that's there. You really there's 20 to 22 trucks that can, you can say can win a race, could win a race. The trucks could win a race. Now, the drivers are scattered as far as experience level, ability level so far, but still, once you get up there to top 20 and trying to make passes going forward from that, you got your work's cut out for you. But we just didn't, our setup wasn't right. It wasn't balanced very good, that we were way too tight front end, sliding the front wheels, and couldn't make the corner, couldn't cut the corner as quickly as possible, and use the throttle as much. I was proud of our team. We threw a lot of things at it as far as adjustments, trying to remedy that, and just really didn't make a whole lot of headway. So came home kind of licking our wounds there a little bit. We don't really have much time to feel sorry for ourselves because we're going to Rockingham this week. Going to run Friday, and looking forward to that. Back to Rockingham after probably 13, 14 year layoff there. New pavement. We're going to be really fast, so we're going to see what happens. We race Friday at 5 o'clock. Going to be warm. Last weekend at Bristol, it was, man, on the pit box during the race, I was about to freeze. My feet were cold. I was miserable. And this weekend, I think it's going to be like 82. So different time zone, I guess.
No seasons for sure.
Yeah, no season.
We're gonna double back to Rockingham in a second, but the Truck Series race was the only race where we were able to find someone that could beat Kyle Larson. He pretty
That's
much
true.
whooped the field the rest of the weekend.
Mm.
Um, when you look at Kyle and his ability, he still finished second in the trucks, by the way, and what
Yeah.
he said was not his best truck he's ever had.
No.
When you look at his ability to jump in any car, where, any day, it seems like, and do that. What does that say about Kyle Larson as a driver?
Well, he just he's he's just got a lot of ability, and it's Heather. It's just natural ability. I mean, he was born to drive race cars, and I say race cars meaning plural, meaning different type. He can go to a dirt track and run a sprint car. He can go to NASCAR series and run up front in any of the series. He could get in a late model and run well. He could get in a go-kart and run well.
IndyCar.
IndyCar, he can run well, which is there's probably going to be more of that in the future for him, I guess. I'm pretty sure he could probably step in a drag racer and probably win.
He did say on an interview that I heard this week that drag racing is not in his future right now.
Okay. Well, that's probably good for all the drag racers out there, but he's just born to do this. It's all so natural to him. When they interview him, when he gets out of the car, it's like no big deal. It was okay, a lot of fun, da 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 da. What's for lunch? It's incredibly natural to him, and that's scary. I think Bristol, the layout of the racetrack, the banking, the high speed, the fact that especially in the Xfinity and Cup races, there's enough rubber laid down on the track in both grooves where he can run all the way up against the wall if he wants to. He kind of invented his own line around there several years ago. He goes in the corner, stays right up against the wall to about the say 40% way through the corner, third of the way, 40% of the way through the corner, and then just cuts across the middle and comes off the corner way down against the bottom on the apron. And it's like, wow, I remember him watching him do that in a Xfinity race. I don't know what year it was, several years ago when he first came on the NASCAR scene, and he was kicking their hind end that day, and he's still kicking their hind end every time he goes out. So credit to him. I mean, yes, he has good cars. He's not taking junk and running up front. That's not the key, but you know, when they got Kyle Larson in the car anywhere, but especially at Bristol, it puts pressure on the team. It puts pressure on the people that are making decisions on those cars and trucks too, you know, to say, okay, we got to do the best we can, because if Kyle Larson can't run up front, that don't make me look too good. So he gets good stuff because he deserves it, and everybody knows he's going to get every bit out of whatever he's driving. Heather, he's just uncanny. I mean, it's like we were talking before we came on here. You know, Denny ran good all day, ran a good race, had a really good race car, but he was just a little bit behind Kyle Larson all day on Sunday and finished second. Good day for him, but you know, Kyle was one spot away on Friday night from doing the sweep.
Yeah.
And that's today's competition. That's a big story.
Yeah, it was impressive. And he just didn't have quite enough truck to get to Chandler
No.
at the end of the truck race. But I mean, he passed a lot of cars to get up to second
Yes,
place.
he did.
And it was pretty impressive to watch.
Mhm.
I want to talk about now the Cup Series. Everybody said it might be the worst Bristol race ever, and it was certainly not the most exciting Bristol race ever. I think there's a little bit of hyperbole. I mean, there was a time and a place where people were winning Bristol by 4 laps or 5 laps.
Or 7.
Yeah. And so, but it definitely in recent memory, it was probably the least exciting. And Kyle had a lot to do with that. But there are also other factors. The tires, which the tires are really interesting. And I guess we'll start there because on Saturday, they went out and ran a 30 lap run, and it looked like last spring. I mean, cords on
everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. It was crazy. It was cold on Saturday. You mentioned it was cold on Friday. It was actually colder on Saturday during the day. And so you think, okay, I think I even tweeted, so it's going to be this kind of party, right? We're going to go back to what we had in the spring. It's only 15 degrees warmer on Sunday, and all of a sudden, the tires, you could run like a superhero, 120 laps, and nothing happened.
No issues.
So have we pinpointed that the thing with the tire is the temperature, or is there something else? Because they did treat with PJ1, and I did talk to Chase Briscoe after the race, and Chase is convinced that they used a different treatment on Saturday as opposed to Sunday. He's convinced of that. So what are your thoughts on the tires?
Well, the part about the treatment is confusing to me. I'm going to stick to my original story about that. I just wish they wouldn't use anything. And here's the reason why: is because for let's say for Bristol anyway. I'm not going to get into other racetracks.
Well, I think Bristol's one of the few places they still use it.
That's true, and I think that for competitors, for crew chiefs and drivers, race engineers, for all of us that are planning these races, it's not as quite as difficult for the truck races now. It's not as technical. We don't seem to have tire issues no matter what they do. But I guess what I'm saying is, if they just don't use anything and go run the weekend as they run the weekend, then at least what the good thing that will come of that is that it will become a constant. It will become consistent for, okay, as you're planning for the weekend, especially the guys on the Cup side, they're not thinking about, well, are they using a different treatment? Is the material, is the substance maybe a little different than what they had last spring or last year or whatever? If they don't put anything on it, then it's just the racetrack and the rubber that the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series puts on, and they'll be able to figure it out from that point. It will be a lot easier to figure out setups. It'll be a lot easier to figure for Goodyear to figure out, okay, what kind of tire do we need here? Because you're not chasing a moving target out there. You're looking at something constant every race we run. Now, their rebuttal to that is going to be, well, we're not going to have as good a racing because the best racing is when everybody runs around the bottom of the racetrack in a line and knocks the bumper off the car in front of them to be able to pass. And then there's some ruckus after the race and there's some excitement.
But Ricky
I don't know about
Jr.
that.
told me a couple weeks ago, you can't really do that at Bristol anymore.
No,
You can't
no.
in especially in the next gen car.
Mhm.
I think it's a combination of the line they run, the speeds they run, how durable this car is,
Very.
that you can't really. Now we did see a bump and run in the Xfinity Series
Mhm.
race for the lead when Kyle got the lead back. He put the bumper on first place. But so I don't even know that theory holds water. My concern is that if we take the tires out of it, if we're not going back to what we had in the spring, if we're not chasing that,
Mhm.
we get what we got on Sunday, and we get what we got last fall with Kyle Larson, where somebody gets up front, they're checked out, it's over with.
Right.
Which kind of is old Bristol minus the ability to bump and run, which everybody says they want, but they don't really want. You don't really want old Bristol. I've been watching a lot of
I don't
old
think
Bristol
so
races
No.
on Tubi, and let me just tell you, they were complaining about passing back in 1989. Like
Yeah.
they
Oh,
were
yeah.
complaining
Oh,
about
yeah.
that.
Sure were.
So
That's right.
the question is, how do we, quote unquote, fix Bristol? How do we fix short track? Do we need to go back to asphalt, which has been tossed out there? Do we need to go back to the old configuration, which has been tossed out there? Is it a car issue? Do we need to look at this generation of race car? How do we fix it?
I think it's a little bit all the above. I think there is, for whatever reason, and I'll say up front, I'm not smart enough to be able to tell you reasons for this, but let's face it, on the short tracks, we have not had many good races.
No.
We've not had much good racing with this particular car.
And when we have, they've manipulated it, usually with tires. The Bristol
Right.
tire race, Martinsville this last
Right.
spring, Phoenix where they had the option tires, Richmond where they have the option tires.
Right. I don't know that. I guess the bottom line in that subject is we're probably way too far into this to be saying, okay, we're going to change cars. Maybe something for the short tracks, just for the short tracks, maybe a different version of it, maybe something. I just don't know if anybody has really got a good idea of like, okay, if we're going to do that, what are we going to do? What's going to fix it? I don't know if they know how to fix it.
Drivers, Denny Hamlin maybe being the most vocal one, thinks more horsepower will fix it.
Well, and I think that's a good I think that's a good try. Let's put it that way. It wouldn't be that hard to make that change. It would be a little bit more expensive. It would cost the engine rooms, some time and some, but if you told them, okay, in 1 month, we're going to Wilkesboro, that's a short track. We're gonna do whatever. We want to have the engines to be 150 horsepower stronger than what they are right now. All the engine builders in this could do that. It could happen. It might not be the favorite thing they want to do, but they could make it happen, and at least we could try that and see, okay. And what he's saying is that the cars are going to drive way different because the throttle response is going to be so much more abrupt, and you're going to have a lot more power, and you're going to be able to spin the wheels way easier, which is not always a good thing. But you would also too would have enough power for that throttle. Using that throttle could make the car handle a little bit different and maybe help you pass that car in front of you that you might be a little bit better than. But when you're get to 6 car lengths behind them, all of a sudden you can't catch them. So I think Denny's got a good point. Denny is very vocal about issues with all types of things, subjects in racing. He's also pretty smart. I mean, he's not just blabbing out stuff and you say, hey, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. He does know what he's talking about. He's a driver and a car owner. And I think Denny is very concerned. He's a proponent of racing. He's not only involved, but he's also a proponent and he's a race fan and he wants it to be different. He wants it to be better. And he's concerned about, how our fans feel because he knows that's what makes this sport. If they get bored, we're done.
And maybe at his own detriment because he's been pretty successful on the short tracks
That's right.
with this car,
Mhm.
right? He did
Right, he
basically the
has.
same thing at Darlington, which I know really isn't a short track, but it kind of has the same kind of issues with it. He
It
won
is.
Martinsville, he's won Bristol in this car, so he
Mhm.
was second this weekend. So maybe to his own detriment, he wants change because there's no guarantee that he would be better if they changed it. But I also have a question about the track because there is a rumor going around NASCAR right now. I don't know if you've heard this or not, that one of the non-NASCAR owned tracks, so basically SMI or one of the tracks that NASCAR leases from somebody, is considering configuration change. And the leader in the clubhouse in this rumor is Bristol.
Okay.
And so my question is, if you don't change the car, is changing the track, will it actually do anything? To me, it doesn't seem like it would. And my reasoning for this is that pre-next gen car, I think specifically back to 2001, which I think was the last year of the Gen
Mhm.
6 car, right?
Think so. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably.
And 19 were two of the better races, and really 20, the race that nobody saw except for the four of us were the media members that were in there during COVID. There were some really good races there.
Mhm.
That is this configuration, but the old car.
Old car.
So my question is kind of based on, I'm not sure the track is the issue. I'm kind of at the point now where the car on this track is the issue. Now, I'm not ready to scrap the next gen because the next gen has fixed what was the most glaring problem in NASCAR, which was we run mostly intermediate tracks and those races were
Exactly.
awful.
That's
And
right.
now the intermediate races are very good. So
Mhm.
I don't want to scrap the next gen,
No.
but it feels like there needs to be something tweaked with the next gen, maybe specifically as you mentioned for the short
short
tracks
tracks.
to fix it. I don't think fixing the track is the issue. What do you think?
Well, I guess my question would be, if somebody said, okay, we're gonna reconfigure Bristol and it's going to make better racing, my answer to that would be, well, what's it going to look like? What are you going to make it like? What are you going to do to it that you can tell me is going to fix the track? I mean, we have Martinsville, which is a completely two drag strips, sharp, flat corner to go to both. You have Richmond, which is long, sweeping front straightaway, kind of medium banking, not much grip, old, wore out asphalt in either corner. Lap times fall off tremendously from fresh tires to 30, 40, 50 lap tires. Okay, you have Phoenix, which is way different than either one of them. You have Loudon, which is a kind of expanded version of Martinsville, except not concrete in the corners. It's wore out asphalt in each corner with different lanes of sealer and grip spray and this, that, and other. So, I mean, I guess my question would be, okay, what are we going to do to it if we change it? What are we going to do to it that we know is going to make good racing? I think if you could have this crystal ball and you could show it to the officials at Bristol Speedway and the owners and also NASCAR and even the drivers and say, okay, if you do this right here, you can look in that crystal ball, you can say we're going to have really good cup races at Bristol. I think they do it in a heartbeat. I think
Right.
they would not even hesitate. They would say, okay, if we're guaranteed of that, get the bulldozers and whatever it takes, get them out there and go to town and let's fix this thing before the next race. Our driver Parker Clearman's kind of funny. We're talking about this the other day. He was talking about the races to me, and he's full of ideas about anything. I mean,
Right.
kid, I mean, he just keeps on
Well, he's
whatever.
another guy that's a promoter of the sport, a really good ambassador,
Yeah.
and super smart.
Yes,
So,
he's very smart and he's involved because he's a driver. You know, he drives the racetrack, and then as he commentates and does the broadcast on Xfinity races, and of course he watches the Cup races and he watches all other kinds of racing. So he's very educated. You know, he made a comment, said, I don't know, maybe we just need to go in and dig the banks up and then put, you know, the lower part of the banking around the white line needs to be like a real 36 degrees to where we just go around there hustling it, you know, and go around and yeah, if you're going to pass somebody, you need to put the bumper to them. Maybe that'll work. I don't know. It intrigued me that he said that, and at the time I wasn't really my brain wasn't in the gear of saying, okay, how are we going to fix the Cup Series? I was wanting to talk about how we're going to be better at the next race in our truck. So I didn't wrap my mind around it as well as I could have. But I mean, Heather, I don't know. That's a problem. I don't think anybody knows what the answer to this problem is, and there's no cheap, easy fixes.
so for sure, for
I,
sure.
I,
I'll say this though. The best news out of the weekend for me was, as a person who lives in Bristol, who loves Bristol Motor Speedway, was
hmm?
the NASCAR collective community said, we could have a crappy race at Richmond. We could have a crappy race at Martinsville. We could have a crappy race at Phoenix. But a crappy race at Bristol is too far. Fix Bristol.
That's
And it just
yeah,
shows how much people love the Bristol Motor Speedway.
I,
And that's good news for us as a community and
absolutely.
as a race community, that they're like, I'll take crap anywhere else, but I'm not taking it at Bristol. Fix it now.
I think if you put a stranglehold on me and said, okay, I'm not letting up, you got to tell me what you're going to do to help the next race at Bristol and see what happens. I think that well, the cheapest, easiest way, I'm not going to say it's the best way, but it's to me makes the most sense way to try to get a better result would be to no track treatment, okay, for throughout the weekend and give the cup cars about 150 more horsepower and just go and see what happens this fall. See if they have a better race.
Well,
Because,
you have at least one guy on your side in Denny Hamlin.
well,
So,
I think,
but I actually think I've heard more drivers than just Denny talk about that. But
well,
he's a huge proponent.
I'm not, you know, to me, again, in reality, it sounds like to the average person to be, oh my gosh, now they got to build a whole new engine and all this stuff like that. It's going, no, they don't. And I'm not an expert engine man. No, you can go to about everybody in the garage area and know more about engines than you do from me. But I know it's not going to be like a catastrophic situation that everybody's going to have to reinvent the wheel, spend millions and millions and millions of dollars to do. These guys have engines that, with the right tuning, with the right fuel injection, with the right map in the ECU, and so on and so forth, they'll make a lot of horsepower. And I think Bristol's a good place to try it. There's probably other short tracks in between here and there. Wilkesboro is a non-points race,
Right.
so anything you do there, let's face it, the race at Wilkesboro last year, as I remember, it was not real good.
I mean, other than
It
the
was
fight
boring.
afterward.
Yeah. But you could do it at Wilkesboro as well and try it this and see if it helps. You know, they don't do track treatment at Wilkesboro, so that's a non-issue. They paved a racetrack a year and a half ago, and it's nice, smooth, grippy pavement. Wilkesboro is a nice racetrack. It's shaped differently than Bristol. It's a little bit different type racing than Bristol, but it's still short track racing.
Right.
So you could at least get a little piece of information, a sample set that you could take and say, okay, let's do it at Wilkesboro. Let's give them more horsepower. They've got time to do that. There's not a track treatment, so that decision's out the window for Wilkesboro. But let's see what happens. Even if it's wrong, even if the race isn't very good,
It's the All-Star
last
race.
year's way wasn't very good
Neither one of the
anyway.
All-Star races has been
None
that
of
great.
them. And it's not really going to cost anybody anything because it's a non-points race. Maybe you get a little sample set right there. You get some driver feedback from everybody. You get engine room feedback. You get crew chief feedback. Most of all, you get spectator feedback. Not only people at the race, but TV audience get the feedback. ask the media. They're the ones that are really watching this and trying to.
I honestly say don't ask the media as a member of the media. I think
Well,
there's a lot of people in the media, and sometimes myself included, that think that they have knowledge that they do not have about the cars and how they work. And they float opinions in there that the fans end up picking up on, that's so out in left field and so wrong. As a member of the media, I'm saying don't ask us. Most of us don't
well,
know what we're talking about.
that's sometimes true for crew chiefs too. I'll tell you that we say some things that are sometimes pretty out there. So I don't know. It's a situation that I think it's the elephant in the room that everybody knows we've got to do something, because you're right. When you have a sorry race at Bristol, you got a problem.
Yeah.
And the few people that I've talked to that were in the stands on Sunday, these people are true bone deep racers, people that love racing, that've been there for years and years, have seen tons of laps of racing at Bristol in all divisions, all different types of cars, and they go. And let's face it, Heather, they had the best weather you could ask for on Sunday.
Yeah, it
I
was
mean, you
pretty
can't
good.
ask for any no better situation. And yes, one driver did dominate the field, but it was still, even back through, there wasn't a lot of passing, there wasn't a lot of action, there just wasn't a lot of excitement, there wasn't a lot to for people to glue themselves to, waiting for the next lap. Um, I don't. I just think we've got to do something. And to me, the two things that would be the easiest, cheapest way to do, and might be the best thing to do, is leave the sealer off of it. It's not. It's not. I don't believe it's helping anything. And put some more horsepower in those cars so that the driver's foot has to be part of the equation. Now, if you do that, I will say this: Kyle Larson's probably going to win again, but at least it'll get some action on behind him, maybe, of people passing and making it's the window for mistakes is going to be a lot smaller. So I think it's going to be whole lot harder to sit there and run consistent laps for 500 miles. People are
I
500
still
laps.
think Denny Hamlin could maybe be in the
Oh,
conversation
absolutely,
too.
absolutely. Kenny Hammond and some other guys
Yeah.
too. Let's face it. Let's don't throw people to the bus. Remember, the Cup Series is the gathering of the best stock car drivers in the world.
But those are the two guys that have Bristol figured out.
Those are two
Those are
guys
the
that
two
have the
guys that have
best at
Bristol.
Bristol. Just
Right.
like used to, it was Cale Yarborough. I
Mhm.
watched. I stood in the pits and when I was 16 years old in the 70s, and watched Cale Yarborough win a race by 7 laps. And he lapped the second place car with 10 laps to go, was Dick Brooks. And the most exciting thing all day, he was beating his door off down the backstretch to get by him, to put him the seventh lap down with 10
Mhm.
laps to go. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So
We want old Bristol back. Please give me a 7 lap winner. That's what I want. Um, so switching gears now
yep.
to this weekend
Mm-hmm.
and the return of racing to Rockingham.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, I know old, as you call them, bone deep racers are very excited about this. It's been a while. I guess the trucks were there maybe 10 years ago. Some of the others, it's been close to 20 years since they've been at Rockingham.
Yep.
What are we expecting from this recent weekend of racing?
Okay, the good thing is we're going back to Rockingham, a place that is etched in history. A lot of NASCAR history has happened at Rockingham. History that was uh, a big impact on a lot of drivers' careers, a lot of teams. People have in their mind they love going to Rockingham Sunday afternoon. There's no lights there, so it's not night races. Just old school racing. The track was, for most part of that history, was a worn out track that, you slip and slide around after 2, 3 laps on your tires. You're hanging on for dear life. The front end's scooting, the rear end's loose coming off the corner sideways. You run way up the racetrack, you run way down on the bottom, whichever. That's all the good part, and I think it will be good. I think the crowds will be good. I think the racing, I hope, will be pretty good. The kind of unknown, I'm not going to say the bad part, but I'm going to say the unknown part of the equation is that it has new surface on it. They paved it, completely paved the racetrack and put soft walls in I think it's been about 3 years ago that they put the pavement down. They did it. That was when the state of North Carolina gave um, a number of racetracks in the North
It's
Carolina state money
what
to
led to the rebuilding of North Wilkesboro.
yes, it did. It led to vast improvements at North Wilkesboro. They even gave money to some of the short tracks, Hickory, Tri-County, some of those that the Caraway that used the money to make improvements to their facilities. Rockingham was one that, besides North Wilkesboro, made the most of it. They paved the entire racetrack, which the old surface had got to a point, especially after the last races, sitting there, it was just deteriorating. It was crumbling. It probably would have been dangerous to have races there. So they say, okay, if we're ever going to have NASCAR races again or any type, we're going to have to pave this place. So they took that money, they invested it very well. They fixed up some things. The Cup and trucks, excuse me, Xfinity and Truck Series had a test session back in January. Now it was pretty cold. It was like 40 degrees. Our team did not participate. I didn't get to go, but most of the practice times were all right around the bottom. Of course, you're not racing during practice. So the good thing to answer that is that this weekend is going to be, it's supposed to be like 82 degrees. So thank goodness. So the track's going to be a lot hotter. It's probably going to get a lot slicker. I'm sure that sometime during that weekend, that second groove is going to come in. So there'll be some side by side racing, we hope. So, but to answer your question, to me, it's something that we've been looking forward to.
You guys are racing this weekend.
We are racing this weekend. Parker Kligerman will be driving the Sucker Punch Food Country USA 75 truck. We're proud for that. And we're just going to jump in there. I'm telling you, there's just a lot of unknowns about it. In a test session, the fastest lap on the tires were like 25 laps into a run on tires, which is kind of unheard of. So everybody's thinking that you're going to probably change tires one time during the race, and it'll probably end up being a fuel mileage race. I don't know so much about that. I want to see it. I want to see it for myself and experience it for myself. I think when you're in the 80s, in a racetrack too, where nobody's had a race on it, so it's pretty certain that nobody's setup is going to be perfect because you just don't have any information to bank on. There's no what you used to run at Wilkesboro. I mean, at Rockingham, 13 years ago when the last truck race was, or 25 years ago when the last cup races were, that's not going to work. You're going to be way different than that stuff. And this is not your granddad's Rockingham. It's a different place. So I think there's going to be a lot of unknowns. I think there's going to be a lot of split second decisions, a lot of roll the dice decisions, which I love as a crew chief. I think that makes the best racing. And you're going to have a situation where drivers are going to have to adapt and they're going to have to figure out things as the race goes on itself, both on Friday and Saturday. I think Saturday's race may be more like that because there's going to be more rubber on the racetrack from Friday's race, and also there's an ARCA race before the Xfinity race on Sundays or Saturdays. So we'll see. We'll see. I can't wait. I want to get there. We're driving down there this evening, and I just want to dive in there and kind of see what's happening. And yeah, we had a bad week at Bristol, so we want to do something different so we can forget that.
All right. Well, good luck to your team.
Thank you very much.
This week. All right. So for the rest of our podcast, our guest this week is Austin Dillon. A conversation I had with Austin a couple of weeks ago that didn't make it on the air in full. I've run bits and pieces of it.
Okay.
And since we have an off week, why not let you listen to the whole conversation with Austin? So you might hear a few older references, but fascinating conversations about RCR, where they are, kind of evaluating themselves up to this point in the season. So let's head over to Austin. I know it hasn't been a great season in the finishes for you, but it seems like RCR, especially as a company, is much improved. The cars look faster. You guys are running better, even if you personally are getting the finishes. Do you feel that? Do you feel like the organization is on the upswing?
I do. And, I think, you've seen us at the front at different races, Daytona and Atlanta. We were there for a little while, and Coda, we were kind of in a storm the whole race of just cars, and probably going to finish around 15th or 16th, which would have been a solid day for how far when we started the weekend off. But to see Kyle up front and be dominant in that race was really bodes well for us on the road races moving forward this year. I think we can work off of that and what that team was able to do. And yeah, no, I mean, we kind of get some things locked in. It stinks because I think we'd be sitting a little better in points right now if we didn't get wiped out last weekend by Denny. But yeah, it's a part of these first three races. They're chaotic, and now, like you said earlier, you kind of get into the more standard procedure of the race year.
Uh, it seemed like maybe this started this kind of upswing towards the end of last year. You guys as an organization were really running much better. I know that there were some organizational changes and some swapping around of crew people and that kind of stuff. How big was that in the, I guess, evolution of the upswing for RCR?
I think it was huge. Bringing in Richard Boswell, Johnny Klossmeyer, making changes within the organization to move people into positions that they could have success in. I think it's been good. We're a little leaner right now, and we've hired a couple more people, and it's been nice to see them come in and bring some fresh looks. I really love the team that I've got this year on the road. Everybody, has a great attitude and is excited to be at the racetrack. So, I think we've got some good stuff moving forward that we can look to for this year.
I don't know if this is actually true, but from the outside looking in, it looks like it's going to be really tough to get into the playoffs this year because maybe it's just because of the way this season started and you see some guys up towards the top that maybe aren't normally there. But what do you think that it's going to be like over these next now, 30 or so weeks, or I guess 20 or so weeks, so we're trying to get to the playoffs?
Going to be a grind. I mean, every weekend presents an opportunity. Winning is so important that you'll be aggressive to try and accomplish that. So we'll do whatever we can to get to victory lane, lock ourselves in the playoffs, and go from there. We want to be in victory lane at least twice this year before you get to the playoffs, so you can feel good about your speed and your ability to win.